do a little bit better, and that's totally natural because you're focusing on the prototype. But in the end, at Friday, it was really, every team had a perfect, it felt like close to perfect pitch. And what's really important now, that listen carefully, you can learn a lot during the next 30 minutes. We're really happy that Matthias visits us. It's a long way from Berlin, or Hanover, I don't know. And yeah, we met each other like, I don't know how many years ago. You always show me like how old I am actually, because we met when you were at the second semester, I think.
Yeah.
And came together to me with Niklas with an idea about optimizing the ordering process in restaurants. And we talked about a lot of ideas, and finally it seems like you have something. And yeah, I think you will explain a little bit about Chat Shopper, because also interesting in the field of Lean Startup. I think we had a quite interesting presentation on Tuesday about Lean Startup, and I think you have kind of a perfect example how to start up Lean. And Matthias also, as I told you before, was kind of the key player in creating the Starterkitchen. Like, when was that, 4 years ago?
Yeah.
And so we are really thankful for your work here, and yeah, looking forward now to the pitch. So give him a warm welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Matthias. I've studied computer science, then worked a lot with Rahmen and all the other guys from Open Campus, Starterkitchen and Campus Business Box. And then in the beginning of 2015, I finally founded my own startup together with my friend Antonia. And the startup is called Chat Shopper, and we're doing shopping via chat with the help of a chatbot. But I will explain later a bit more about what Chat Shopper is doing. And today is about pitching, and we will start with a few general things about pitching. As you may know, pitching is just a cool, hip word in the startup world for presenting or presentations. And mainly pitching your startup is every time you're talking about your startup. Like when you talk with a colleague or someone you just met, you're pitching your startup. For example, in a one sentence, if I just told you, my name is Matthias, I'm from Chat Shop and we're doing shopping via chat with the help of a chatbot. That was actually a pitch. And so pitching is every time you say words about your startup, it's pitching. So you can also say that your whole life is some kind of pitch where you kind of say words to pitch your thoughts. But in startup, a pitch is mainly an opener. So when you're on stage and you pitch your startup, for example, to get an investment from some kind of investors, it's not that you want them to throw your money at you after you finish your presentation. Your pitch is more like to get the interest of the people you're pitching to, and to get a kind of to get in contact with them, and then to dive deeper into your startup. So just make your pitch as interesting as possible. And it's also then mainly about your passion. Like, you only have 3 minutes or 5 minutes to show that you have a passion, you have an idea, you want to kind of build something, and you want to infect the people with your passion, and also that is what makes you interesting. And so think about your motivation, think about what motivates you about your startup, and try to show that. There are 3 to 4 types of pitches in the startup world. The first one is the one-sentence pitch. It's like, again, Chat Shopper is shopping via chat with the help of a chatbot. It's just 5 to 10 seconds long, so you just have enough time. But it's mainly your kind of first introduction. And then when you met someone, you told them your one-sentence pitch, then they ask, oh, Chat Shopper sounds interesting, what is it? And then you go to the 1-minute pitch. And then you have one minute full of time to explain in a bit more detail what you are doing. And it's actually 1 minute long. Then you have the 3 to 5 minute pitch. It's 3 to 5 minutes long. And this pitch is often with slides. And this is the main startup pitch. Like, you are in the spotlight, you have slides, everyone is listening to you. So that's the main pitch we are talking about. But also, the pitch is just the opener, so then you have some kind of follow-up talks with potential investors, potential partners, and have more time to explain your numbers, explain maybe more complex charts you can't explain in your pitch because you just don't have the time or they are too complex. Just so you know, all my slides I will send to Alex or Harm so they can post them into Slack so you have all my slides. So let's go to a basic structure, like how should your pitch look like. One important thing is that the 1-minute pitch and the 3 to 5 minute pitch mainly has the same content or structure in it. It's just that for the 1-minute pitch you need to be more precise in what you're saying and how you're saying it. And also you often don't have slides for that. So when you start, you will always start with the first slide. And I will do this now that for every step, I will give you some examples like how we're doing it with ChatShopper, and then I will analyze why we're doing this the way we are doing it. So for example, for ChatShopper, it's, hi, my name is Matthias, and I'm one of the co-founders of ChatShopper, and we're doing shopping via chat. So analyze this, what just happened? Like, I came on stage, and I'm the only person on stage. It's not the whole team on the stage. I've seen that, and it's not cool. It's totally distracting. It's just in 3-minute pitch or less, just one person talking and one person on stage. Your team, you can explain everything in your team slide. Also, when it's like a 5-minute pitch, you can have a second one on stage and split the presentation between the two. But it's more recommended to only have one person on stage to not distract the people too much. Also, PowerPoint isn't evil, you just need to use it in the right way. So I think every one of you have seen pitches or presentations with a lot of text in it. It's not cool, don't do that. You just need to know how to use it. Here's a good example, you should definitely look at this. It's from Y Combinator, a good acceleration program in Silicon Valley, and they show how you design a pitch deck. The main takeaways of that are one statement per slide. So always focus one slide of one key aspect and don't have one slide where you jump from point to point. Then people or investors don't invest in pitch decks, they invest in teams. So your pitch decks can look totally ugly. They just need to be good readable. And also, one good advice I kind of use often now is start with just dark text on white background and font size 100. So, because they assume that investors are always sitting in the back row, investors are old, they have bad eyes, you don't know how the beamer is working, if it's a good picture, so just make it as simple as possible. And just support what you are kind of talking. So show pictures so people can understand it better, or show the key points. And use your first slide. What I mean with that is that when you kind of go on stage, or even before you go on stage, when you get announced, your first slide is always on the wall. And you kind of, people have the time to read your slide, and without your 3 or 5 minutes starting, they can see, okay, it's about ChatShopper, what is it? Okay, it's a fashion shopping chatbot, and they kind of get their thoughts right. And also see if this is interesting for them or not. And also, a lot of people forget, introduce yourself. Like when you're on stage, first say who you are and what is your startup, or what's your startup's name. Then, when you start to pitch, the first real thing is the problem that you want to solve with your startup. For example, for ChatShopper, it's that mobile shopping still sucks and really sucks. It's why there's a huge oversupply of products. There are way too many products that you can buy, and it's really too hard to find the right one for you. on your mobile device, you have only a small screen to take a look at these products. And when you just take a look at a normal online shop, it's just it's overwhelming. And often the experience is not mobile optimized. For example, you have long checkout processes. It's hard to find the products you're looking for. You need to go to a lot of menus. It is very hard to shop on mobile. And the most important thing, it's a not mobile personalized experience. Like you need to go through a lot of products on your small screen until you finally find the product you want to have. So in your problem statement, it's, I think, maybe the most important part of your pitch. It's about what's your motivation, why you want to start the startup, and also why do you have a personal motivation to do that, so that the people really feel what you're doing. Also important, again, to the slides, one statement per slide. Not too much on the slides, because people will read or they will listen to you, so make it as easy as possible so that they don't need to read that much, so they can listen. Also, one important thing, page numbers. Always put page numbers on your slides, so when people are asking questions and refer to slides or specific parts, they can refer to that page and also maybe write down in their notes, okay, page 10 sounds interesting. The next part, you just explained your problem, and now it's about how you want to solve that problem. For Chat Shopper is that we are building a personalized fashion shopping via chat. We started in 2015 with a human-backed service via WhatsApp and got some good traction over the year. But we have seen that there's a scaling limit, because we have humans making the kind of shopping consultancy, and we can't get above that limit. So we started to, our first learning was humans don't scale, and so we experimented a lot and have seen that with chatbots we can totally break through that scaling limit. And now it's a fashion shopping bot in Facebook Messenger. You can just contact it, and then you get through some kind of onboarding process where Emma, our fashion shopping bot, explains how it works. And then you can just say what you're looking for. For example, I need Nike sneakers. You just send it in plain text, natural language to Emma, and Emma is instantly looking in our inventory what she can find. And she will suggest you some sneakers that you can buy right away, or you can kind of get into a conversation. Say, I would like them to be red, and then you get red Nike sneakers. You can also then kind of get more into a conversation, say thanks, and she would say, you're welcome, and everything's fine. So our solution, it's a known and easy to use interface. It's just like chatting with a friend. You don't need to install a new app. You can just use your Facebook Messenger or whatever other messenger we support and you have on your smartphone. And you just describe what you want in natural language. No complex menus, just say what you want. And it's easy shopping for the mobile generation. So our customers are really young. They are 14 to 26 years old and a bit more male than female. So in your solution statement, you should definitely show how you solve the problem you kind of defined earlier. To demo the product is good. You can use screenshots, but screenshots are not that good because screenshots can be kind of manipulated easily. You could use a video that's a bit better, but also could be fake. Really the best way, if you have the time, is to demo your product live. I know it's risky, everything could go wrong, but people will kind of appreciate the risk you are taking. And you should also say something about your target group. That could be in your product problem statement or in your solution statement, but you should somehow tell who's the people you are kind of addressing with your startup, who has the problem you defined. And then the business model. For ChatShopper, it's an easy one. We get a commission for every sale we make, 10 to 15%. It's quite easy, and you also need to really keep it simple. Not put every kind of prices and numbers on it. Just say as simple as possible who pays how much for what. And then somehow you also need to say what's your market size. So you have a problem, you have a solution, you have a target group, but people want to see that you can make money with it. So what's the potential space or the potential amount of money that you can address? For ChatShopper, it's the m-commerce market, and it's 6.6 billion euros of revenue in Germany, and it's a really fast-growing market. For example, in 2015, it more than doubled to the year before. So the important part here is that you build a product and that there's a kind of really huge potential space of customers who want to pay for that, and you need to show your investors that when you grow, there's a big market. And also one important thing is when starting a startup, it's also something you maybe learn later, that it's always better to have a small but fast-growing market than a big but slow-growing market. Because when you're starting now, your startup is maybe big in 5 to 7 to 10 years. So it's better to have now a small market, but which is fastly growing, and you are one of the only ones who see that this is fast growing. And in 5 years, when you have your product, you have a big market, and you are maybe the first one. And then you need to say something about other people who had the same idea and what they are doing and what you are doing differently. For ChatShopper, there are kind of two different services parts out there. They are the fashion curated shopping space, which are in a single market, the fashion market, and mainly doing this with human agents. But with ChatShopper, our goal is to, as the name ChatShopper says, not only be in the fashion space, but also go beyond that in every shoppable item via chatbot. And you have in the multiple market, you have also some kind of shopping via chat, conversational commerce services. But as we have learned, humans don't scale, so don't be here, be here. In your competitor chart, you should need to find a simple representation of who are your competitors and what are kind of your advantages, what are your USPs. You can use a simple chart for that, like the chart I just showed you, or you can use a table, for example, with some key points and then some crosses or X's if they support this or doesn't support that. Then traction. For mainly for startups, even when you have an idea, it's really simple to make a pitch deck that looks really shiny. You can have some mock-ups that looks like you really have an app that is already working. But so in your presentation, you need to show that it's more than an idea, that you kind of proved some hypothesis and that you actually have done something to get closer to your goals. For ChatShopper, we already raised 375K. With that money, we made a proof of concept with a human-backed service and got really good numbers and kind of proved that conversational commerce is working. And just recently, we were voted as the worldwide best e-commerce bot. And also just closed our Zalando partnership. So now together with Zalando, we are building the best conversational commerce fashion shopping experience that you have seen. So in this slide, really, why it's more than an idea. What have you accomplished so far? Like also kind of what kind of numbers do you have? How many users do you have already? And show that it is kind of growing and that's really that you're building something really cool. And also in kind of investment terms, it's all about minimizing risks. Like every investor, when he invests money, he has a certain risk that some points aren't working, that your team isn't working, that your idea isn't working, that the market isn't working. So with that proofs, you need to show that you kind of can have already minimized the startup risks you have. Then nearly the last slide is the team. For ChatShopper, we are just 2 human people. Antonia, who studied business administration and is mainly doing everything except tech. And me, I studied computer science, focusing on the AI part and tech and chatbots and all this cool stuff. And we also employed 2 bots, Emma, our fashion advisor, and Hugo. He's responsible that every server is running and that the infrastructure is working. So in your team slides, you should mainly tell who is doing what in your startup. Don't focus on what he or she studied or where he or she worked at. Say who takes which part in the startup. If kind of your teammates worked at some places people know, like maybe worked at IBM, Google, McKinsey, put the logos on it. If they don't, like we don't, put nothing there. And also, when you're in an early phase, it's important to say why you are the best team to do the job. So especially when you have no proofs that the thing you're doing it right, you need to say why you are qualified and that you have all the resources in the team you need. For example, when you're building an app, it's good to have someone that actually can build an app and not have 2 business economic students who want to build an app. Then the call to action, like you're pitching for some reason. You're pitching that people invest money in you or they try a product, they give you feedback, you want to close a partnership. And now's the part to really tell them how they can kind of profit from the cool stuff you told them before. For us, this is kind of a bit fictional, but we want to raise 500K as convertible note, cap 4 million and 15% discount. With that money, we want to build an even greater team. We want to hire 2 more developers and 2 AI engineers. We want to build a proof of concept for the shopping chatbot. We already proved conversational commerce with human chatbots, but we need to show that we can also generate that numbers with a chatbot. And we want to build an AI-based solution for even better personalized experience. So, you need to tell the audience what the audience should do. They should try a product or they should invest money in you. If you want them to invest money, also tell them what you want to do with the money, like how you bring your startup further and how you again minimize the risks people have. Like for us, we want to prove that it's actually working. We want to reach a product market fit to then really scale. Then you have the last slide. It's the kind of end of the presentation, and it's where you say thank you, questions, and all of this. And for your last slide, it's even more important that you use your last slide. Because, for example, when there are questions, you have 10 minutes that this slide is on the screen. And 10 minutes that people can kind of write it down, they can add you on LinkedIn, they can visit your website, they can, again, see what they can do with the information you gave them. And kind of don't waste it with just a thank you or questions, question mark thing. So just use it. And also, say thank you to close your pitch, like that people know it's over and they can applaud, and it's much more easier. So when you don't do it, yeah?
Is that after the questions round or before that?
Before,
Okay.
like with your last slide. Then, even after your last slide, you can have backup slides for the questions. For example, this is the last slide, and now someone in the audience asks, sounds very interesting, but what is your vision for ChatShopper? And I say, my vision for ChatShopper. My vision is the right product for everyone, just one message away. And we're doing this by using chatbots and existing channels to enable instant and scalable one-to-one communication. Thank you. So in the backup slides, you can put all the slides, all the maybe complex graphs, complex numbers, where you kind of know that people will ask stuff, and then you can kind of explain it better, but maybe the slides were too complex if you put it in the presentation. So use the question round as kind of an extended pitch time. And to close everything up, some do's and don'ts. Don'ts, don't talk too fast. It's not about how fast you can talk, it's always about how fast they can listen, so keep calm. Don't apologize. Often you don't have the best pitch deck you could have, you don't have the time to make the most beautiful slides. People don't care. So just make the best out of it. Don't say, yeah, sorry for the bad slides, but I just leave it. And don't use the same slides for pitching and to email people your slides so they can kind of take a look at your startup. Because as you see, for pitching, they need to be very simple, but you have me talking to it, so it all makes sense. But when you email someone just the slides, you don't have the information that I'm currently saying, so have some kind of more complex slides with more explanation. And the do's, be yourself, be authentic. When you're kind of introvert and don't, then kind of be that introvert. When you are that motivational speaker that walks around the stage, be that motivational speaker, but don't be that introvert trying to be that motivational speaker, because it isn't authentic, people won't believe you, and people won't give you money. And think about your audience. Who is in your audience? Only use words your audience understand. And also only have a call to action that makes sense to your audience. If there are no investor in the round, don't say that you need money. So use it. Check the pitch settings before, especially when it's an important presentation or an important pitch. Go on that stage, put your presentation on that stage, and see if everyone in the back row can read the slides. If you can bring your own laptop, you need to use theirs. Check it before, and use PDF. It's the kind of easiest thing. Every image looks exactly as you want them to be. Every font has the same font. You don't have this fancy animation you have in Keynote or PowerPoint, but again, investors don't invest in pitch decks, they invest in teams, so make your life a bit simpler. And maybe the most important part, practice a lot, because on stage you are nervous and you always kind of fall back to this state of training. And when you're at home in a relaxed environment, kind of pitched it 10 times, you maybe have your sentences in your head, and you kind of, when you're nervous, you can use these sentences, these routines. So, happy pitching. Thank you.